Here we are at COP28 in Dubai with Diego de Leon from Out for Sustainability. Diego, how is COP going for you? We're almost wrapping up here, right?
Yes, it's been very, very intense, but very incredible 2 weeks here in Dubai.
The issue of LGBTQ and sustainability or climate change or environment, is it present at COP? What has been your experience? I know that there have been a few panels and you've been part of them. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, first I would like to recognize that we are building in very strong, or we're moving on very strong shoulders. Um, Historically, there's been LGBT organizations coming and going to COP that have set important precedents. So we're definitely not alone. But I think that this is the first COP where I've seen the issue really starting to get a little bit more traction, both inside the kind of, let's call it the civil society aspect of COP, having more programming, having organizations talk more about the topic, but also within the negotiations, I've seen a little bit more openness to actually discuss and start looking at these issues, I would say, in a more serious, more organized way.
Fantastic. And you're one of the people that have really been giving thought to this issue, and Out for Sustainability has already contributed a lot of the discussion. Tell us a little bit about where that linkage is, why this is an issue important to the LGBT community, and where that the relationship with climate and with environment stands.
Absolutely. I think it's a two-phase issue. The first phase, and I would say sadly, is the most recognizable one, which is the differentiated impacts of climate change in the LGBTQ plus community. We are unfortunately being disproportionately affected by climate change because of the systemic and historic marginalization and homophobia that our community has historically faced, which puts us in a more vulnerable position in comparison with other groups. Again, it's not a competition of who has it worse.
Not one you want to have,
but
right?
absolutely not. But it is important to acknowledge that. And unfortunately, because of the restrictive legal frameworks in many countries, even today, many of these challenges still remain invisible, and that presents itself a huge challenge for the community that is kind of experiencing this impacts. The other side is about the experiences that we as a community can bring. We're a community that has endured many challenges throughout history, some natural, some man-made, but nonetheless, we've been very resilient, and we've developed a series of tools, a series of experiences that are able to help us overcome these challenges, and that can be very replicable for climate change.
Right. And I understand a few agencies, a few institutions are already beginning to reflect on this linkage. Tell us a bit about where you're getting some traction in the US or in other spaces on this linkage between the LGBTQI plus community and climate.
Absolutely. Well, I think at the national level, we've found the U.S. government, the Mexican government, quite open to engaging in the discussions and to not only engage but actually develop tangible results on it. We had the recent U.S. FEMA guide on equitable and inclusive disaster preparedness and response. The latest climate national assessment of the U.S. includes a part where it talks about the disproportionate impacts of climate change in the LGBTQ+ community, particularly the trans community. So there's been important progress at the multilateral level. We actually had the roundtable with the commission, and I think that sets a very powerful precedent in how to actually engage. And for example, here in UNFCCC, and you have the different constituencies. There is the women and gender constituency, which has been extremely warming and welcoming for us, but we don't have necessarily an individual constituency. So, opening those specific spaces is very, very helpful. We're going to have a session in the ECOSOC, the UN Economic and Social Council, next January on SDG 13, climate action and the LGBTQ plus community. So we've seen also the multilateral being much more open and much more willing to engage in this conversation.
This is great. So maybe taking a step back and thinking about climate change more broadly, what is your take on what just happened here in Dubai and at COP? How do you feel the negotiations have gone? Do you leave Dubai a little bit hopeful about where things are going, or more frustrated?
We're literally in the last minute of the minute before 12. So there's still a lot to be defined. There was a couple of backsteps today, unfortunately. We're still waiting on seeing the result of the global stocktake, which is this assessment of the Paris Agreement and really identifying and addressing the gaps of the Paris Agreement in the last 7 years. I think Loss and Damage made substantial progress with the funds, and I think now it's up to 700 million that's already been pledged for the fund, which not only exceeds the operational costs required, but also actually making fresh financing available. But important challenges still remain. Also, particularly in the global stocktake, we'll see how that turns out. But also interesting results. AI made its first appearance in a tech conversation, addressing both the opportunities but the risk of AI, which it's also an important topic for the LGBTQ plus community because of the implicit bias that sometimes AI has. But that to say, like, I think that there is progress, there's desire. We didn't get an explicit mention, which was kind of our desired outcome, but we were on track, and we have this was a very informative COP for us to help kind of identify that route map on where are those places, key moments in the process where we can advocate and request more inclusive language. So overall, I think it's been a good COP for us as an organization and in general for the world, but the final result is still yet to be seen.
Well, thank you so much, Diego. It's a pleasure seeing you again in our follow-up from our Montreal meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Diego de Leon from Out for Sustainability. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Daniel.